Alright, so Konami just dropped a new version of Petr Cech in eFootball, and immediately the community started asking one question. Is he actually better than Peter Schmeichel? Because for the longest time, Schmeichel has been considered one of the most reliable goalkeepers in the entire game. A lot of pro players still use him. A lot of top-ranked squads still trust him, but now this new Cech card has arrived with insane stats, and suddenly people are wondering if the throne has finally changed. So today we're comparing every important stat, their playstyles, and how they actually perform in-game. And by the end of this video, the debate might finally be over. First, let's start with something very important. Both of these goalkeepers have the defensive goalkeeper playstyle, and in eFootball that matters a lot. Defensive goalkeepers stay closer to their goal line. They don't rush out aggressively. They focus more on positioning, reactions, and shot stopping. And that usually makes them more reliable against long shots, curlers, and quick finishes inside the box. So in terms of play style, both goalkeepers are already very similar, but once we start comparing their stats, things begin to get interesting. Let's start with the new Petr Cech card. The first thing that immediately stands out is his height. Cech is 196 centimeters tall. That makes him one of the tallest goalkeepers in the game. And in eFootball, height for a goalkeeper is extremely important, because the taller the keeper, the more area he can cover when diving. It becomes harder for attackers to beat him with finesse shots, and it also helps when saving top corner shots. But height alone isn't enough. So let's look at the core goalkeeper stats. Cech has 100 GK awareness. This stat basically controls how well the goalkeeper reads the game. It affects positioning, reaction timing, and overall decision-making. And having 100 awareness means Cech is almost always in the correct position when a shot comes. Then we move to GK reflexes. And this is where the new card becomes extremely scary. Cech has 100 reflexes. That means when a striker shoots from close range, he reacts incredibly fast. Those situations where the ball bounces inside the box, where the striker shoots instantly, Cech has the reflexes to pull off miracle saves. Then we look at GK reach. He has 97 reach, which is excellent. This stat determines how far a goalkeeper can stretch when diving. Combined with his 196 centimeters height, it becomes very difficult to beat him in the corners. Then we check catching and parrying. Both are 94, which are very strong numbers. This means he can either catch shots cleanly or push them away safely. And one more interesting detail, this Cech card has the GK directing defense skill, which helps organize the defensive line slightly better. It's not something you see every moment in the game, but it contributes to defensive stability. So overall, the new Petr Cech card looks incredibly balanced. Tall, elite reflexes, perfect awareness, great reach, basically everything you want from a defensive goalkeeper. But now let's talk about the goalkeeper that many people still consider the king of eFootball, Petr Schmeichel. Schmeichel has been one of the most popular goalkeepers in the game for a long time, and there's a reason for that. He's extremely consistent, and sometimes consistency is even more important than raw stats. First, let's look at his height. Schmeichel is 193 centimeters tall, so he's slightly shorter than Cech, but still very tall for a goalkeeper. That means he can still cover a large part of the goal. Then we look at his main goalkeeper stats. He also has 100 GK awareness, so when it comes to reading the game, both goalkeepers are equal. Both of them position themselves extremely well. Both of them react early to shots. So awareness is a tie. But now things get interesting when we move to the other stats. Schmeichel has 97 catching and 97 parrying, and that's actually higher than Cech. This means Schmeichel is slightly better at handling shots cleanly. Sometimes when goalkeepers parry the ball, it rebounds dangerously. Schmeichel's higher stats reduce that risk slightly. Then we check reflexes. Schmeichel has 97 reflexes, that's still elite, but slightly lower than Cech's 100 reflexes. And that difference could matter in very fast close-range situations. Then we look at GK reach. Schmeichel has 95 reach. Again, still excellent, but slightly lower than Cech's 97 reach. So in terms of pure shot-stopping range, Cech has a small advantage, but Schmeichel does have one stat where he clearly wins. Jump. Schmeichel has 89 jumping, while Cech has 84. That means Schmeichel is slightly stronger when dealing with high crosses or aerial situations, and that can matter when defending corners or long crosses into the box. So when we compare the stats directly, it looks like this. Cech wins in, height reflexes reach, Schmeichel wins in, catching, parrying, jump. And awareness is equal, which means the difference between these two goalkeepers is actually very small. But stats don't tell the entire story, because in eFootball, performance often depends on how a player feels during matches. And this is where many players start noticing something interesting. Schmeichel has always been known for his consistency. He rarely makes huge mistakes. He saves what he should save, and sometimes he even pulls off impossible saves. That's why so many players trust him. But the new Petr Cech card brings something slightly different. Because of his 100 reflexes and taller height, he can sometimes stop shots that other goalkeepers simply can't reach, especially fast shots inside the box, and that's where he becomes extremely dangerous. Attackers think they've scored, and suddenly Cech stretches his arm and somehow saves it. So now the real question, which goalkeeper is actually better? If we look strictly at the numbers, the new Petr Cech card has a slight advantage. He's taller, he has better reflexes, and he has better reach. Those three things combined make him extremely strong against close-range shots and finesse shots. And in today's eFootball meta, those are some of the most common types of goals. That doesn't mean Schmeichel suddenly becomes bad. Not even close. Schmeichel is still one of the best goalkeepers in the game. But when comparing these two specific versions, Cech might have the edge. So if you're deciding whether to spin for the new card, here's the simple answer. If you already have Petr Schmeichel, you're still safe. He's still elite. But if you're choosing between the two, the new Petr Cech might actually be the better goalkeeper overall. And that's why after looking at the stats, the playstyle, and how they perform in game, the debate might finally be over. Because the new king of defensive goalkeepers in eFootball might just be Petr Cech.